You're listening to the Junior Birdman Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Junior Birdman Podcast. I am your host, the Junior Birdman, and if you like this video, make sure you click the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be alerted when we release new videos. Make sure you comment below as well, especially when you get a hold of some of the things we're going to go through today. New guidelines have been released, and today our guest is Dr. Anthony Fauchi, Distinguished Head of the CDD. Dr. Fauchi is going to review some of the guidelines that have been released by the CDD. We're going to go through these one by one, but first let me just welcome you to the show, Dr. Fauchi, and thanks for joining us.
It's wonderful to be here.
Well, thank you. How many lawmakers are on board with these?
We have overwhelming support from elected officials on this bill. In fact, they're practically begging us to implement these new guidelines as soon as possible. We've had senators, congresspeople, even the president himself calling us daily to ask how they can help make this a reality.
Well, that's so. I don't understand why dress shops are on this list. Why can't
It's very simple science, really. Dress shops are a breeding ground for germs and viruses. You've got dozens and dozens of people trying on clothing, touching fabric, sweating in close quarters. It's a recipe for disaster. So we're helping to prevent the spread of harmful viruses, keeping people safe. Plus, who needs new clothes anyways? Fashion is so last year.
Okay. I also noticed juice bars are also going to be forbidden now.
Juice bars are notorious for being hotspots for germ transmission. People are constantly touching the same surfaces, sharing straws, sipping from communal cups. Plus, you have a wide variety of different fruits and vegetables going into each smoothie, which is a health hazard just waiting to happen. Now, we understand this may be difficult for some people, especially juice bar enthusiasts, but it's a small sacrifice to pay for the greater good.
Well, couldn't people just wear a mask at the juice bar? Why do you have to ban them outright? Couldn't they?
Well, wearing a mask can certainly help prevent the spread of some illnesses, but it's not a foolproof solution. Masks can only do so much. They certainly can't stop you from touching surfaces or coming into close contact with other people. So we believe that the only true way to protect people is to prevent them from even entering these high-risk areas like juice bars altogether. You know, the old saying goes, prevention keeps you from having to eat an apple every day. So by keeping people out of dress shops, out of juice bars, we prevent the spread of illness and keep our communities safe.
I'm very sure that that's not an actual saying, but let's move on. Why are softball fields are forbidden too now under?
Softball fields are a hotbed of physical activity. You have a lot of close contact between players. There's a lot of sweating, spitting, a lot of shouting going on. All these things can easily spread germs and viruses. It's also a very, very, very dangerous game. People are constantly diving and sliding, colliding with each other's. Injuries are very common, and with hospitals already overwhelmed, we can't afford to put a strain on these facilities because people are getting hurt on the softball field. It's only during daylight hours, and this is certainly something that's going to help our communities and help people protect themselves from the dangers of these places.
Okay, I see flooring warehouses are now forbidden. There's people aren't going in there spitting in a flooring warehouse. So why would you?
Well, if you've ever been in a flooring warehouse, you can see why. It's not so much about the spitting, although that certainly doesn't help matters, but rather the fact that the flooring warehouses are often poorly ventilated, filled with dust, debris, The air quality is poor. This can exacerbate respiratory issues, make people more susceptible to illness. Additionally, flooring warehouses are often filled with very heavy equipment, sharp objects, making them potential safety hazard. So by limiting visits to flooring warehouses until only after 4 p.m., with prior approval, of course, testing, certification, all that from the CDC before you enter, we can make sure people are safe when they get the supplies they need and make sure they maintain their own health and safety.
Aren't all warehouses poorly ventilated, though? Why just flooring warehouses in this case? Because it would seem like.
Well, that's not entirely true. Some warehouses may be poor ventilated, but more modern warehouses are equipped with advanced HVAC technology that helps circulate the air, maintain a comfortable working environment for everyone. Flooring warehouses are a very different story. They often deal with materials that produce harmful fumes, dust, debris, posing a lot of serious risks to your respiratory health. That's why we've singled out flooring warehouses as a high risk area that requires special attention.
All right, now here's another one. Chipotle is on the list. Now, that's got to upset a lot of people. A lot of people like Chipotle. So you're going to take Chipotle.
I can understand why people object to the inclusion of Chipotle on this list. It may seem a bit arbitrary, but Chipotle as a fast food restaurant is notorious for being a breeding ground for illness, from E. coli to norovirus. Chipotle has always had its fair share of food and safety issues over the years, and many of those locations are closed in with no open air dining, which makes it very difficult to socially distance. So by limiting visits to Chipotle to only after 4 p.m. with prior approval, testing, certification from the CDC, we hope it will mitigate the risk of illness, transmission, keep the community safe. As far as other restaurants, we're taking things in a case-by-case basis. We're closely monitoring the situation, making decisions based on the latest scientific data, public health guidelines, and deciding what we should do that's best for the entire community.
I'm sure they're happy to hear that. Beauty supply stores are also on the list of places to be banned under the new guidelines.
Well, beauty supply stores are often crowded, a hotbed for viruses. People browsing through various products, going through the aisles, testing samples, trying on makeup. This could be a social distancing nightmare. So constantly increasing the transmission of disease. So beauty products, in addition to that, they're often applied to the face, which can further increase the risk of infection. So we're limiting visits to beauty supply stores till after 4 p.m. with prior approval, testing, certification from the CDC before admission, so we can reduce the spread of these harmful diseases and hope to keep everybody safe. It's all about being proactive, taking steps to protect the health and community of all the people in our society.
I was looking through the list. Should other small businesses be worried too? It seems like they could be next. So should they be worried?
Sure, we understand those concerns, and we understand the challenges for small business owners, and small stores have close quarters, and we want to assure we're taking a targeted approach to limit the spread of illnesses. And beauty supply stores are just a high risk area because they often deal with products that require close contact with the face, such as makeup, skincare, things that deal with your hair. This can be a social distancing nightmare. So we're very conscious of this. And additionally, we think many beauty supply stores are very crowded. Like I said, very crowded, which exacerbates the transmission of these diseases. So that's why we're saying limit the access to these stores only for now, and we'll see how it goes. Limit their access, require them to have prior approval, allow them to only come in after 4 p.m. as long as they've passed the testing, they've gotten their proper certification from the CDC, all to help eliminate the risk of illness. And then they can enter the store and get their makeup and get their hair supplies and get their shampoo and get everything else they need as long as they follow the rules.
I understand. So here was another one I don't understand. Libraries with 3,000 books, less than 3,000 books are forbidden now. What 3,000 books?
The threshold of 300 books was established based on a careful analysis of the risks associated with visiting libraries during a pandemic. Libraries with fewer than 3,000 books tend to be smaller and more crowded, which make them a social distancing problem. The increase of the transmission of diseases is very, very possible in these smaller libraries. A small library may not have the resources to implement the robust sanitization needed to provide adequate ventilation. So we're limiting visits to these smaller libraries till only after 4 p.m. as well. Again, with prior testing and certification from the CDC to reduce the risk of illness transmission and keep our communities safe. Now, larger libraries with more resources, more space, they won't have to implement these measures as long as they're able to maintain the 3,000 book threshold.
Well, there's many more we could bring up. This is a big list. And from what I gather, this is just the beginning for you guys, right? You have other restrictions to come.
Well, we're constantly monitoring the situation and evaluating new information as it comes available. Our top priority is always the health and safety of the public, and we'll take whatever measures necessary to protect our communities from the spread of illness. While we don't currently have any plans to ban additional places, we are open to exploring all new measures, recommendations, anything we need to ensure our communities remain safe and healthy. It's important to remember that during a pandemic, it's an evolving situation. You have to follow the science, listen to the science, make sure you understand the science.
The science. Now, are there other businesses? Can you give us a few examples of some other businesses that should maybe be concerned that they may be next on the ban list for the CDD?
We are always looking at new data and new information to help us make more informed decisions about public health and public safety. We don't right now have any specific plans to shut down any other business, but we are considering all these options, whatever it takes to prevent the spread of diseases and keep our communities safe. We know the pandemic is going to be a struggle for everyone. So our primary focus is to implement these guidelines and make sure that everybody remains safe. With these new guidelines, we expect to monitor the effectiveness and make sure everybody remains safe, especially during the difficult summer months and into the winter. We want everybody to remain safe and make sure they continue to listen to and follow the science. Follow the science, everyone.
Follow the science. Doctor, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us here today.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Junior Birdman podcast. Be sure to like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell to be alerted when new videos are posted.